Hello, welcome to Matters of DeCorum. I'm Scott Corum. This is what matters to me. Missed last week. Life is crazy. I will cover that later. I will probably be doing a bonus episode this week or next week to cover that. Alignment. Dungeons and Dragons gave us an excellent start at defining a character's ethics and morality, what actions they are likely to take in a given situation. The alignment system. Some people love it, some people hate it. If you're not aware, from classic D&D on to the current editions, there is a 2-axis alignment system. Axis 1, whether the character is lawful or chaotic. Do they follow the laws, or do they follow their own codes to the exclusion of the laws around them? There being a neutral setting in the middle that is based entirely on pragmatism. Is a character good or evil? Essentially, do they sacrifice themselves for others? Do they sacrifice others for themselves? Or do they permit nature to follow its course, being neutral? And how you combine these elements along two axes determines the character's general moral and ethical alignment. Are they lawful and good? Are they chaotic and evil? Are they true neutral? And anything in between. There is a lot of variation from edition to edition in Dungeons and Dragons and how much this affects the character. In some editions, every alignment has its own very specific language. Lawful good people speak a language that no one else understands. In most editions, the class that you take, whether you're a fighter or a paladin, certain classes can only be taken by people of certain alignments or who have a certain element to their alignments. Paladins have to be lawful. In some editions, lawful good. Assassins have to be evil. In some editions, they can be neutral, but generally they tend towards evil. And so you can play this character, but you have to play this alignment. Or you can play this alignment, but that might allow you to play one of these characters, depending on how you choose it. Over the course of a long gaming career, I say this because I have had one, you will probably end up playing characters of a number of different alignments. I have my preferences. I like me a chaotic good character, but I have played everything across the board. I play chaotic good better than I play most other characters. Go figure. Lots of different games have some form of ethic or morality statistic. It's often an alignment. Palladium has a perfectly acceptable alignment system. You've got things like GURPS or the victory system, where you've got flaws or disadvantages that define a character's personal codes. Do you have a pirate's code of honor, or do you follow the 3 laws of robotics? What code guides that character's actions? Now, this pulls a character along. This gives a set of motivations that guides the character. If you've got a party full of good people, you can motivate them into action by endangering someone, therefore making it necessary to act in their benefit, perhaps to one's own detriment. If you have a party of evil people, it happens from time to time, you give them something that appeals to their motivated self-interest. You endanger them or something that belongs to them, or you offer them some tremendous personal benefit, such as wealth. There is nothing wrong with either of these approaches. If you've got a mixed party, then you have to kind of let a party alignment gel. this happens, what is the party more likely to do? Well, there's an evil guy in the back who's not letting anyone know he's an evil guy. He's going to follow everyone else, so the party alignment is generally everyone else's. There's going to be some interesting stuff happening later on, but so you pull a character or characters along by that alignment, by the limitations they put on themselves. I can't allow innocents to be harmed. Well, there's innocents who might get harmed over here. Okay, let's go stop the innocents from being harmed. That's a great way to lead a character and motivate a party. As a game master, as a game designer, as a writer, I am responsible to challenge a group of player characters. Traditionally, most often, these challenges come in the form of things to beat up. There's monsters, there's bandits, there's an evil army swarming down on the land. What do you do? There can be traps and challenges, natural disasters. I like natural disasters. Oh, there's an avalanche that's going to come down to this town if someone doesn't do something. Oh my God, it's a raging fire, it's a flood. It wasn't my fault, I swear to God. But those are all very big, very external challenges. Person versus monster, person versus nature, person versus person. Person versus themselves, however, is just as valid a literary trope, and that is where an alignment system excels. Not in how you pull that character, but in how you push them. A lawful good character follows the laws to the benefit of as many people as possible. Now, what if you put that character in a nation ruled by an evil king? He came to power by the laws of that land, even if they included stabbing your predecessor. He operates by the traditions laid down over centuries of this being an evil empire. He's the law. He is evil. He is causing harm to good people. But he's the law. He's the law. How do you deal with that as a lawful character? Yeah, you're good. Your soul opposes the harm being done, but he's the lawful ruler. Do you leave? Thousands of people are going to be tortured to death, murdered, worse. If there's necromancies around, it doesn't necessarily stop when they die. What do? Do you appeal to a higher law? Do you go over the king's head? Well, my God says I have to oppose this, and I must follow my God's laws. Therefore, I can legally oppose this king, even though I am breaking the law in doing it. In that situation, you should see not just the character check their alignment. You want to see the player. You want to see the player's eyes go down to the character sheet and look at that alignment, and then look up and process. Can I do this? How do I function with this alignment on this character sheet in this situation? That is a moment. That's a moment that you want to see. Because in that moment, that character gains depth. In that moment, that situation gains depth. In that moment, your story gains depth. You can fight monsters 24/7. You can beat traps and run up against horrific odds in combat, and that can be fun and that can be a good story. But the moment the character has to ask themselves, can I do this because of who and what I am, and plumbs that, when they dive under the surface of that character sheet and have to pull open the hood and look at how the engine's running. That's good stuff. That's great stuff. You want to see that on a regular basis. Not all the time, but from time to time. You want to throw something in front of a character who's, you know what that alignment is. You know what their limits are. You know where their line in the sand is drawn. A line drawn in the sand by no one but the character. These are the codes I follow. I won't kill people. I won't pick up a gun. I won't endanger innocents. I won't bring children into this. You look at that line and you put the solution to their problem, the simple solution that would be easiest for everyone to solve, you put that solution right on the other side of it. You cross it. Just this once. Just this once. Just this once, maybe you kill someone. Just this once, maybe you pick up the gun and see if you can solve it that way. Just this once, a couple of innocent people might get hurt, but all these other people are going to be saved. Just this once, you can't save the kids and get this done. What do you do? It can be a difficult situation for that player character. That might turn into a difficult situation for that player. We often play alignments close to what we feel personally. Sometimes we play different stuff because we want to stretch. I've played alignments all up and down the board. But sometimes that's a quandary. Are you willing to let go of that code just this once? Because if literature has taught us anything, if life has taught us anything, it's never just this once. You cross that line, you're never really fully going back. You cross that line, you have added that option to your acceptable solutions. It's never just that once. And there's an inherent sense of that. If I cross this line, I've crossed this line. I might as well stay on the other side of that line. It solved the problem, didn't it? If you were playing an alignment that is vastly different from the rest of the player characters, this gets even worse. If only we did this, we could save all these people. I agree. I can't sit in for that. Well, it will fix all this. Yeah, but I just can't do that. Then you have your own moral quandary and everyone pushing you to cross the line just this once. I've been on both sides of that. It's difficult. It's deep. It adds something to your story. It adds something to your game. It tells you where people lie relative to one another and where they lie relative to their own codes. Do you have the person who adheres to that code regardless of the consequences? Or do you have the person who can situationally set their code aside and just this once? And which of those people do you trust more? I hate this cup because it's got this lip that's really meant to hold on to a lid, but it makes creating proper suction for drinking almost impossible, especially when there's ice in here. So you got to put extra time and effort into thinking how you're going to drink out of it. And problem is, it's big and holds a lot of stuff, and it keeps things cold really well. Sorry, tangent. It's hot, and I've got to hydrate really a lot, and keep everything lubricated. And this is not making it easier. I should get a straw, a metal straw. I've got a couple. Sorry, tangent. You really want to see someone suffer a little bit over this decision. Not that you want to induce people to suffer, because that kind of sucks, but you want to see effort. and a little personal turmoil there. You want to see someone struggle with this decision. Do I cross that line? Game Master should probably keep a set of notes on where people's lines are. As they're designing the adventure, as they're pushing things along, there needs to be these little side paths for someone to get pushed up to their line and nudged. This will make it easier. You could save a lot of people just by sacrificing this. You could not have to go through all of this. You might lose some people if you do this. But you could just do this and it'd be easier. And it'd cost you what you believe in for a moment, but you wouldn't risk anyone's lives. What do? What do you do? I have seen people just stop, just freeze up. I've seen those eyes shoot up to the top of the socket, flash back and forth, accessing memory and processing and memory. This is what I believe in. This is what the character believes in. These are the options in front of me. How do I make this work? Do you torture the monster so that you get total control over it? Or do you trust it because it is terrified of you and you're pretty sure it's going to follow your directions for a little while? Do you take away someone's most precious possession and hold it as a hostage for their compliance? Or do you permit them to keep it and let their gratitude carry them along behind you? Can you trust that? Streetcar is rolling down the street. You can pull the lever and make it go on one track or the other. One track is going to run into a whole bunch of people. The other track, it's going to kill you. Which one? Which one do you do? The world is full of really fascinating moral and ethical choices, now more than ever. I'm not suggesting you use real world situations, but real world situations can certainly suggest some fantasy situations. Where does a character lie? How do they get to there? Because it's fairly easy to say, well, this is my alignment, so this is what I do. I'm good with that. That's fine. You can just move along. But this is not deep. It's not interesting. It's not compelling. It's like, well, why? Why are you doing that? Why is that your alignment? Why? Well, that's what my God says. So that's what I'm doing. Okay. If someone doesn't want to dig, that's fine. They don't have to. People can structure characters so that they're really firmly set in things. There's no digging necessary. This is how I am. Boom, done. You put a quandary in front of them and, well, I'm going this way because this is just what I would do. You know, regardless of consequence, this is it. I can do this with a clear conscience because this is what is written on my sheet. That's fine. That is not who and where you are going to find the depth in your game. It is, however, an interesting starting point for other people to question that action. Like, dude, are you serious? Did you seriously just do that? Yep, because that's how I am. But we could have, nope, couldn't have, because that's how I am. Yes, it can cause some inter-party conflict. The best games I have found, the best gaming situations, everyone stays friendly, it's all a good game, the group works really well together, but after you hand out experience points and you close your book and you start packing up, those 2 or 3 people sitting across the table start talking about what just happened, and it kind of comes out half in character. The players are expressing their interest in the situation. The characters are expressing concern. If that happens again, are you going to do that again? Like to us? Would you do that to me? Well, that's kind of what I do. That's how I am. That's on the sheet. But that wasn't cool. It might not have been cool, but it's how I am. Those conversations for an hour or two afterwards, that let's go get a cup of coffee and talk about this thing. This stream of text on Discord between games. This getting to the next game an hour or so early so you can have some lunch and talk this thing through. That takes it from being monster of the week, classic campaign style, into something amazing. Because those moments take the player and put them in that world and put their footprints in it. That player character is now a solid, concrete thing with motivations and concerns and thought processes. It's not just what's written on the sheet. It's a living, breathing character in the mind of the player who has to think things through, who knows where they're going and knows why they are going there. There's a terrible thing that happens from time to time. A game just starts up and everyone makes up their own character in a kind of independent one. Well, I want to make this. I want to make this. Oh, that's fine. And then you get like halfway through the first adventure and someone looks at you and goes, what's my motivation for being here? Why would I even be involved in this? It happens. Well, I made this character that I want to, and I'm in this situation with these people. Why the hell am I here? I've done that from time to time. Not often, because I understand what a terrible situation this is for the game master. It was a terrible situation for me as a game master until I learned an amazing phrase. You know, someone makes this character that has nothing in common with the rest of the group and has no motivations that you can access, and you get into the middle of this game and they turn to you and go, why am I even here? And the phrase I've used to answer this with, I've learned this one, it goes like this. That sounds like you're trying to make that my problem. I love that phrase because it's not your problem as a game master. That character's motivations are what the player has put on the sheet. And if the player has put on the sheet, oh, I have no motivations that can be accessed, I have nothing in common with the rest of the group, I'm my own person doing my own thing, that's not the game master's problem. That's someone who doesn't understand that the character needs to have something in common with the rest of the group. That's someone who wanted to do their own thing, might want more attention than everyone else. So I'm going to have my own adventure while you guys are doing your adventure. That happens, and it's not your problem. Like, oh, I'm sorry. If you cannot think of a reason why your character would be with this group, then I think the best solution might be for you to make a character who gives a fuck about what's going on. Not that I have an issue with player choice and players making the characters they want to, but play the game. As a game master, you are able to reach into a character's motivations, pull them out, and put them in front of them as a wall and say, are you going to break these to get through? If a player doesn't want to give you that, there's no reason the game master has to do that. We're going to go beat up monsters tonight. It's going to be fun. We're going to dress up in Space Marine armor and we're going to go beat up aliens. That'll be fun. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. Well, why am I beating up space aliens? I'm not a Marine. Well, why don't you let that character be support back at base and make up a Marine like the rest of us? You don't have to plumb characters for depth, but you can. You absolutely can. And from time to time, you absolutely should. It's not a requirement. It's a privilege. As a game master, you get to do that. You don't have to do that. You get to add some depth to this thing by making life difficult for people. I'm running a game at a shop at the mall, the Game Chest, a D&D game on Tuesday nights, and using 5th edition. I really like the 5th edition. The bard found a book of beholder poetry. No one speaks beholder. Beholders speak beholder. This is an amazing find, but he can't. I want to learn how to read it. Okay. It sounds like a simple downtime activity. It's not. I decided to make it complicated. I threw a lot of consequences into the act of learning to read this thing. Consequences for failing to learn and consequences for learning, because this is the beholder language, and beholders are not known for their terrestrial or humanoid thought patterns. Now the character has to contend with the fact that every so often he just starts thinking in beholder. He'll start singing a song or writing something down because he's a bard, and he'll start singing it or writing it in beholder. Without meaning to, without intending to, if he's not thinking about what it is. Now he's got to make some decisions. Now he's got to make some very difficult decisions. Does he continue studying it? Does he chance going deeper down this rabbit hole? Does he try very hard to walk away from it? Or does he dive into a style of writing and language no one else with 2 legs understands? Does he set himself apart and ahead of every other bard who lives at the moment? Or does he play it safe and walk away from what is certainly damning forbidden knowledge? That is a game. That is depth. That is a 3-hour-a-week throwaway game at a game store that now people are talking about, wondering about, oh my God, what's going to happen to Orzhov? Are we going to have to put him down? Can I do that? Do you think he can handle this? When that conversation keeps happening after the store closes and people are walking out the parking lot, when that conversation happens on the Discord between games, when that conversation becomes a part of the game. We've got 3 hours and we've got a golem factory to go to, and that's going to be terrible. Yeah, but can we take a moment and talk about this Orzhov thing? Because I'm a little worried here. There's nothing better than that. That takes it and elevates it from a good game to a great game to a great story. I might tell the whole thing sometime. In the meantime, thank you for following me along on this particular rant through alignments. If you liked the video, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like the video, give me a thumbs down. Feedback is feedback. If you have your own questions or comments about alignment systems or how they play into the game, or if you have your own stories about how alignments have played into things that you've done, things you want me to hear me talk about, other questions, other comments, you'll love leaving me a comment. I'll love getting one. If you haven't subscribed to my videos yet, why not? They're awesome. But go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you hit the subscribe button, hit the little notification bell next to it so that you're alerted when these videos become available. If you would like to help out in a little bit more personal way, I invite you to hit me up my Patreon page, www.patreon.com/ScottCorum, and consider donating. Absolutely anything helps. It allows me to make better videos more often. In the meantime, thank you very much for your attention and time. I'm Scott Corum. This is what has mattered to me, and I will see you next time on the next Matters of DeCorum.